The opening lines to the old Star Trek series says that space is the final frontier. In actuality, it may be entering the realm of death. But what is death? Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah, Day 1 of the Torah portion, Chayei, the life of Sarah. Let's go to Bereshit, or Genesis chapter 23, and start with verse 1. And Sarah lived 127 years, the years of the life of Sarah. And Sarah died in Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. And Abraham came to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. So we enter into this Torah portion talking then about the life and subsequent death of Sarah. What is death? I love the way the idea of death is expressed by some Native American friends of ours, Doctors Sukina and Kwamanik of Indigenous Messengers, and I highly recommend their ministry. Dr. Kwamanik has often suggested that when a loved one has passed away, that they have crossed the veil. The veil is a lot thinner than what we might think. We tend to view life totally within the physical realm because that's the only experience of life that we have at the moment. Of course, there are those who suggest that they have gone across the veil, experienced something there, and then come back to give us the details of what they have experienced. They may or may not be legit. I'll leave that up to you. But the reality for most of us is life as we know it has only been experienced in the physical realm. Let's also be reminded that life did not just start at conception within our mother's womb, but our soul, our inner reality, the part of us that is alive and animating the rest of us from the inside, originates in the spiritual realm. Yah implants a soul into our physical bodies. Some rabbinical study that I did at one point suggests that at that very moment that conception takes place and the seed of man and the egg of the woman connect and life begins at that instant. At that very instant, Yah has already selected a soul from his presence to be implanted into that spark of life, that conception. That it is he who chooses that. When Yah said to Moshe, "No man may see my face and live," it wasn't suggesting necessarily that there is some sort of curse or so great a terror in his face that man would die as a result of it, having a heart attack or dying of complete shock. But rather something much more beautiful, and that is that the longing of this inner part of us, this soul of us, to return to the source of our origin is so great that if we were to see his face, metaphorically speaking, as he is spirit and has no physical form, if we were to see his face, our soul would leap out of our body and rush back to his presence, because that's where the soul ultimately wants to be. And when all is said and done and we're in the final stage of existence in the eighth day, the world that is yet to come, Olam Haba, then we will have that reality. So Moshe could not see his face because the body would have given up the spirit, the soul of the man, and been reconnected vitally with his creator. So that's what death really is ultimately. And that is that the life that is contained in this physical shell has yearned to return to the Creator so much that the body can no longer hold it back. My dad passed away 5 years or so ago at the time of this recording. And my mom would tell you that Dad was already transitioning to some degree. She would hear him in conversation, come to ask him who you're talking to. Oh, I was just praying. But Dad was already looking across the veil in a lot of ways. He took some steps to take care of some things prior to his departure. I believe personally that he was aware it's soon. I'm moving. The physical body made way and gave up the ghost, is the old phrase. Gave his spirit up. And it's similar to what we read pertaining to Yeshua. In the book of Yochanan, or John, chapter number 10, and verse number 11, Yeshua said this, I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. Flipping the page and going over to verse 17 and 18, he said, because of this, the Father loves me, because I lay down my life in order to receive it again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down on myself. I have authority to lay it down, and I have authority to receive it again. This command I have received from my Father. So in understanding his own impending death, Yeshua was not one to be in fear, but rather he had knowledge of how this was all going to work, and that having given up his life, he had the authority to take it up again. He knew that death was not going to win, but that he was going to win. In the book of Luke, chapter 22, verse 41 and 42, it says, and this is pertaining to his prayer in the garden, he withdrew from them about a stone's throw, and falling on his knees, he was praying, saying, Father, if it be your counsel, remove this cup from me, yet not my desire, but let yours be done. If we go over then to chapter 23 and verse number 46, while he was on the tree, he said, in crying out with a loud voice, Yeshua said, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. And having said this, he breathed his last. That's the experience of death. The committing of our spirit into the hand of our Father. Trusting him that beyond the physical realm of life experience, there is the continuing of life in the spiritual realm, which is much more prominent than we are aware of. And our Torah portion, it says that Sarah lived 127 years. Actually, it says in Hebrew she lived 100 years, 20 years, and 7 years, suggesting that her life was lived in particular stages. So is ours. We transition from childhood into adolescence, into young adulthood, into our older years, and finally into our last stages. Life has its segments, and it's up to us to choose to live righteously in each part of our life. We want to do as Sarah did, and that is to leave behind an influential legacy, where even after the physical body has ceased to function, the spirit that was contained in the physical body still remains in our hearts and our minds and influences us righteously to walk upright as those who were before us. I'm thankful personally to have a righteous legacy of grandparents and parents and those that have exemplified a righteous life before me. I know not everyone can say that. But my dad influenced me with prayer instruction, how to walk, how to treat your family, how to work hard, how to be involved in community life. And I'm thankful for that. So even though he's gone, yet he lives in his influence around me. Be influential. Influential now, so even after we transition, the influence will continue. And let's transition again to tomorrow, where I will see you again, hopefully. Until then, shalom.